All right, it's 6:30, and we will call this July 18th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. Make sure the light is on. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Billy. There's a
Second.
motion. There's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Agenda is approved. And then could I get a motion to approve the minutes from June 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Motion,
Second.
2 seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. We have a public hearing, but let's see. Aaron, are you going to give a thing before we open the public hearing?
Up to you. You can open it first and then I can present if you want.
Okay, I'll ask for the following. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing on the sign ordinance?
So moved.
Jim,
Second.
Billy? Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing's open. I will pass it off to you, Aaron.
Thank you. Alrighty, Chair, members of the Commission, tonight we have 3 items on the agenda. First is the sign ordinance. Second, we're reviewing a concept plan for United Properties. And then third, we're going to have a thrilling discussion about chickens. So, starting with a public hearing for the sign ordinance. We have had a really robust conversation both at the council level and then again at Planning Commission at the June 20th meeting. Our sign code is dated. There are parts that staff struggles with. There are parts that residents struggle with, community groups, etc. So a big focus for our conversation was temporary signage. How do we allow signs for community events, city events, etc.? We had a large discussion about city property, so things like Community Park, Carver Station, Gazebo Park, City Hall, and then a change in the downtown businesses. So our current adopted city code calls for temporary signage to be allowed Wednesday through Sunday, which ran concurrently with the temporary shops. As you all know, downtown has changed pretty drastically in the past couple of years. Many businesses are open many more days outside of just Wednesday to Sunday, so requiring a change there. The Planning Commission is reviewing this information because it lives in the zoning code, so you are tasked with a public hearing. Again, you reviewed it at the June 20th meeting. This will be your final review should you not have major changes, and we're looking for a recommendation to the City Council on the sign ordinance tonight. So I'm going to pull up the actual ordinance, see if we have any discussion items as we move through. So I'll open it up to you for discussion and question.
Are we going to review it one more time, or is this, you want us just to insert comments?
Is that different to you?
It probably is, which is why I'm asking. Okay, let me just phrase my question.
Okay.
When I was looking at the chicken ordinance, I noticed that in this ordinance, we are missing language around the permit fee dollar amount. So it's articulated in the chicken fee, or the chicken. This is gonna be a fun night. It's mentioned in the chicken ordinance.
Correct.
But there's no dollar amount listed in this one.
There we go.
And in the chicken ordinance, there is a permit process defined, and it's not in this one. So I just
Correct.
wanted to make sure that if there was a need to stay consistent, we're not consistent for the ordinances we're gonna review tonight.
That is a good point. So as part of the council's review, they'll review this ordinance as well as a temporary sign policy, and that policy will be the permitting process and the fee.
Okay,
So both will be included there.
okay, got it. I have no further questions, comments.
Next. Well, wait, we should ask, is there any comment from the public concerning the sign ordinance? Okay, well, if more public or anybody out there thinks of something, otherwise we'll continue here.
Nothing?
Anything else, Sherry?
I have,
We did kind of
Do you
beat,
want to recommend it?
I do have some questions.
okay, we did kind of beat this to death. And I
So-
think the council has as well.
So section 5A5, I'm confused, up to 3 A-frame sandwich boards. Is that on the right of way at one time for one person at any given time?
One business?
One business?
So it depends on who the underlying property owner is. So if I own City Hall and I want to have 3 A-frames out front on the sidewalk, with this policy, I would be able to.
So per business?
Correct, per underlying property owner. So,
So let's say there's more than one store in one
Correct.
property. They
Okay,
can have up to 3 signs, even though there's 2 different businesses.
Yes.
If there were
Okay.
4 businesses, somebody's not getting a sign.
okay. And then section 5A, 5B,
section,
of the ADA, does it need to be listed here if it's already listed above? Like they have to abide by the same rule twice? It's already listed in section 3.6 something.
I would say since it's specific to sandwich boards, yes. Because they'll be physically on the sidewalk.
But it's already under prohibited signs. That was why I was questioning it.
Tell me the section again.
3.6L.
Oh, sure. When placement, yeah, we can take it out in one of the spots.
Doesn't hurt to have it in more than one spot, though,
That's true.
unless you change one. And not the
Although
other.
Chris is usually my stickler for rules.
And the font size?
So I didn't write this. This was not me. This was the attorney. But that is personally offensive.
I really like Arial instead.
That's a Brent Merrick thing. You'll have to talk to the big guy about that one.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Our 2 alternates, anything? I like you guys. Okay. Should we just leave the public hearing open for a little bit and move on?
I think I know why the 2 people in the room are here, and I'm going to guess that neither are for the sign ordinance, so I think it would be fair to close.
Well, yeah, except that we've only been in session for 7 minutes.
Sure, let's keep it open.
So,
Well, some comes flying in. We can ask them what they want.
well, and we will, but we have to leave the meeting
Oh.
open so we don't, or the public
Okay.
hearing open so we don't have to open it again.
We bring up the question of sandwich board signs for chickens?
Yes, we can.
Oof, that one hurts too.
When we get there. Okay, let's just leave the public hearing open for now, and we'll come back to it. Let's move down to new business. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, new business, United Properties Industrial Concept Plan. Aaron, would you like to start, or?
I sure would.
Can we make a motion for the sign ordinance? We missed that.
Do they want to keep the public
We're
hearing?
just gonna
open?
keep
Oh,
it
so you're
open.
gonna- okay, never mind.
Yeah, we'll get back to making a motion.
Okay.
You know,
Just to make
I'm
sure.
sure I'll remember.
Yeah.
Circle it.
I'm sure
Yes,
somebody will remind you.
Alrighty, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's review a concept plan. So we did a couple of these at the past meeting on June 20th, so we were really early in the planning process. We're right at the top of the road. The information that we know tonight is really preliminary, so I'll stress that throughout the entire discussion tonight, that we're looking for feedback, we're looking for discussion, learn a lot more of the details. We can speak to more specifics as we move through. So again, feedback, big picture, ask questions. Josh is here with the development team. He works for Measure Group, who's the consultant for United Properties. So once I'm finished, I'll ask him to come up, introduce himself, join the conversation. So again, there's many unknowns. Aaron Schmidt is here for some engineering if you have questions there. This project is slated to be reviewed by the City Council at their August 5th meeting, and there's no recommendation requested tonight. It's just discussion and feedback. So some details about where we are looking. We are near Fleet Farm, near Lakeview Industries. So on the comp plan map on the left, the property is circled in red. So it's directly adjacent to Lakeview Industries, northeast of Fleet Farm, so north of Highway 212. Property is currently in the township, so we'll need to move through annexation, but that's part of the process we'll talk about in a minute. So in the comprehensive plan, this property is guided for an industrial commercial mix, which this project meets the intent of the comprehensive plan. It's currently in the townships, so,
Can you have for 1 second?
Yeah.
Can you go back to that last slide?
yeah.
This is a little off track, but, okay, where Commerce Drive is, comes down to Levi Griffin, is that lower portion still named Dewalter Road, or did that get changed to Commerce Drive?
It got changed. Dewalter Circle got put into Meridian Fields.
Okay.
Commerce Drive
Okay,
extends.
okay. That's what I
Wow,
was just
good
wondering.
catch. That was a long time ago.
Okay, we need to change it,
We did. The signs are changed too.
but it's not changed on this map.
Here? Okay, I'll call Carver County tomorrow and let them know. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I can't give you any information about zoning because that doesn't happen until annexation. Any property that's annexed into city limits goes default to ag or agriculture, so a rezoning will be required for this project. Typical, not something that's off the beaten path of what we usually do. Utilities are available via Levi Griffin and Commerce Drive, and access is available there too. Both Levi Griffin and Commerce Drive were constructed for full build-out of this area, so imagining the largest industrial users that could go on that site, that's what we planned for traffic and utilities, so there is capacity in both. Project-specific site details, so they are proposing 2 industrial buildings at about 190,000 square feet each, 284 parking stalls. For reference, Lakeview Industries is about 193,000 feet, so it's comparable in size. So think about Lakeview twice on the property that's directly
How many
east.
parking spaces does Lakeview have?
Oh, Jim, I was really proud of that number that I pulled that. I'd say probably 150. Yeah. So the project calls for high ceilings that would allow for several different users in the space. Space demising for multiple employers, so people could easily split the space up should they need to. Flexible site layout and flexible parking spaces. There was a narrative that was provided in the packet from Connor, who works for United Properties, saying that they were targeting things like production, lab, research and development, warehousing, and distributing with the project. So site layout, the 2 buildings with the parking included there. And then as part of staff's preliminary review, any project that's adjacent to County Road 11 has to go to the county. So we're talking with them about the potential need for a trail along the side of the street too. So it exists on the east side of Jonathan Carver Parkway. This obviously would be the west side. There is trail on the south side running along the Oppidan piece here. So we are engaging with the county to see what their long-term plan would be for this corridor. Is a trail on both sides? Is it called for just for one? What would that look like for pedestrian access? So more to come on that as we start to learn more, but that's one of the big items that we've flagged so far, the potential for a trail access on the Carver side of Jonathan Carver Parkway here. Some facade examples, what it might look like. You'll notice that several of these examples are really similar to Lakeview, so think about that project again. And then I also included, I know we've been talking a lot about design standards as we're talking about a couple other projects in town. So I did a quick screen grab of our industrial zoning district, what the design materials are, so you'll see that this project largely falls within the materials that would be requested as part of the project. This project, should it continue to move forward, has a lot of next steps. So annexation would be one of the first ones. And then an EAW would also be required based on the project size. So EAW stands for Environmental Assessment Worksheet. I included some information in the packet so you can get a feel of what's looked at in an EAW. I think the fact that they call it a worksheet is largely a disservice to the amount of work that goes into an EAW because they are long, they are tedious, they bring you a lot of information. So my petition tonight is to change it to environmental assessment study or something, because worksheet I don't think does justice to the amount of things that are looked at. Rezoning would be required after annexation from ag to a proposed use, and then preliminary and final plat, which will require a public hearing. So, Josh, do you mind coming up and introducing yourself? I don't think that microphone is on. You no way, turn that on.
Test. All right. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, Aaron. My name is Josh McKinney with Measure Group. I'm a consultant working with United Properties and helped kind of put this initial concept plan together. We're excited to be a part of the city of Carver and, or I guess will be a part of the city of Carver at some point once we get annexed. And really looking forward to your feedback tonight on the proposed use. Aaron did a great job just kind of doing a quick overview, but I wanted to just point out a few things that are often questions at this early stage. So there's not a user identified at the moment. So what usually happens through this type of project, we have a lot of runway and we have a lot of approvals that need to occur. So when we get some feedback and we have some idea that the city's supportive of the project, the United Properties team will go out and market this property and take it to the appropriate individuals just to market the property to figure out who the user base might be. That being said, typical buildings like these really have three components. There's an office component that really kind of serves the workers and kind of serves as a main base for the operations of the facility. There's a manufacturing or assembly type component usually to this type of thing. Like you mentioned, one of the things that we're really seeing is a lot of medical device and that type of R&D type demand. And then lastly, in order to kind of distribute that product, then there's a need for warehousing and distribution. And so I think one of the things that people kind of become afraid of is this big truck court that's going to be full of semis at all times, and it's not the case. It's really just facilitating the ability to demise the property into multiple different users. And so on a typical facility like this, you might have 8 or 9 docks per building. So it's not intended to be this big scary thing, at least, I would say on the typical type of building. So we also really tried to work to utilize existing access points to Lakeview Industries. And as Aaron mentioned, really it's going to be a complementary building style to Lakeview Industries as well. So with that, I'd take any questions and feedback so we can improve our proposal as we proceed.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, are these buildings going to be set up to accommodate just one company per building, or will there be multiple companies per building?
So the short answer is they have the ability to be demised.
Okay.
Basically, those dashed lines on the plan really end up being there's our 50-foot grids.
Okay.
With that kind of can be split and demised for
Okay.
multiple different users.
Okay.
So it's certainly possible that there could be 3, 4, 5 different folks in here. Generally, I would say 1 or 2 is more typical, but it does happen where these buildings get demised and broken up into whatever the market deems as an appropriate square footage to facilitate business.
Okay, thank you for that.
We're not talking about heavy industry, we're talking light.
Yeah, no heavy industry per se. I don't believe the guidance would be appropriate for that either. We're truly talking about some light manufacturing or some assembly occurring or some research and development occurring at the facility. No, significant pollution or.
No large water users?
No.
Thank you.
In fact, it's unique to go into this type of situation where you have almost a exact copy or something very similar to look at across the street, to the point where we're going to share a truck access with that property. So, and then the other piece, just to note, one of the access points from a employee standpoint or visitor standpoint is really going to be in a situation where would not facilitate truck access, which is off of Levi Griffin Road, and that's intentional, just to avoid any traffic conflicts in the future.
I have a couple of questions. This
Please.
property currently has a house on it, right?
It does, yes.
Okay. And which way do the buildings face? Like the inside section, that would be where trucks would come in, so it's the outer edges?
Yeah, so the primary, I would say, if we're looking at like architectural features that would be important on this one, we're really going to focus on the stuff that's fronting Jonathan Carver Parkway and Levi Griffin Road.
Okay.
I'd say that southeast corner of that building is more typical. I don't know if you can pull up that architectural. A lot of these buildings have really kind of a prominent corner entrance. They're placed in the corner just because it's the most efficient location for that type of office use, and so it draws visitors to that location and leaves the remaining portions of the facility for R&D, distribution, so on and so forth. So,
And once built, would this be a building that would be operated through United, so for sale or for lease, or?
it would be a for lease, so the customers would be leasing space for United Properties. Yes.
Oh, excuse me, Eric.
Yeah, just, can we go back to the blueprint there, I guess, after that view? What kind of dimensions are we talking about these buildings? We obviously got square footage, but
Yeah, so,
North, south, east, west dimensions.
great question. The north-south dimension of each building then would be 1, 2, 3, it'd be 210 feet. So whatever, 89,000 divided by 2.
Maybe like 150 to 200 feet separation between buildings.
Yeah, it's 210 feet between the two buildings.
Okay.
Yep.
And so when you talk about docks, I assume you're talking single axle box trucks, you know, something like a giant U-Haul type thing instead of a tractor trailer setup.
Some of these would be tractor trailers.
You could get tractor trailers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those kind of
Yep.
tight, those corners, right?
The intent is basically that the trucks do not utilize anything outside of the truck court in the center.
Okay.
Yep.
Eric, it's mentioned in the write-up that the building is 900 feet wide by 210 deep
Thank you.
Okay.
with 200 truck court.
Anything else you want to share with us?
You know what? We're still super early in the process. We're excited about it, but this is really, as Aaron mentioned, like step one of
Right.
at least a half dozen, maybe more.
Right.
So we're excited to get going and working through this EAW process and making sure that we're treading lightly, using with what's coming out of the report, and then would hopefully be looking to get back in front of the planning commission and city council for the ultimate approvals, let's say, a first part of 2025.
Okay. Anybody else?
Commerce Drive is gonna be the access for the school bus garage?
It would be, yes.
So is that kind of traffic at certain times of the day gonna be a problem?
One of the nice things about this product type is that there's not a concentration of traffic usually for the semi-traffic, I guess you'd call it, or any of the loading traffic. It's very staggered, and also it's off-peak hours generally because the truck drivers wouldn't want to be out first part of the morning or during rush hour. They're not interested in fighting traffic. So it's really.
Are the employees going to be using this center on the south side, the center lane to come in?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
So they're not going to be, so they wouldn't be coming to Commerce Drive and through the,
I mean, it's possible that some of them working in the north building would use that access. Just so it's certainly feasible to do so. It's just that from
It
a
won't be a
true
lot of traffic.
traffic concentration, it would be minimal. Yep.
But they can only go in that way. They can't come out on Levi Griffith through that little entrance. They have to come out on Commerce.
Correct. So that's right. So there will be traffic coming out onto Commerce. It will be mostly making a left-hand turn movement, which there's already turn lanes for that location.
okay.
Well, you have parking for 570 cars.
284.
284 cars
It's 284 per building.
Total.
total.
That's not what it says here.
Yeah, here it does say building 1, 284 stalls, and building 2, 284 stalls.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, so that's hitting the code that's required. I mean, we need to do our study to determine what the parking demand would be and ask for any variance or change from that. So as part of the EAW, we'll end up doing a full traffic study on this type of thing as well, and just corroborating our trip generation.
Okay, so you're probably not doing 560.
I would doubt it. Yeah, just from the proposed uses of the buildings or how we were going to demise it out. Generally, this is parked heavier than what is generally required.
Okay. You satisfied with that?
Jim, for reference, Courtney counted for me, but Lakeview has 152 stalls. So if you mirror that building twice, their maximum would be about 300.
Right.
Yeah, that's about a little more than half.
What's indicated on the plan right now. Yep.
Right, so I don't think we'll hit the 500 number, but I think we can zero in on that as we learn more about it. 500, I would say, is excessive.
Sherry, did you have something?
I did, so, but you addressed it in the plan if it sticks.
Okay.
So, getting to the vision of when you're driving down JCP and you look left or right down the middle of those buildings, and the potential for what could be sitting there for periods of time or overnight. but you've addressed it with the landscaping. So as long as that sticks and we don't have that line of sight,
Right.
then I think this is a very appealing way to leverage a corner from a commercial standpoint. Yeah, I like it.
I appreciate the feedback. Well, I mean, we want to make sure that track court's screened as best we can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Letting
Thanks,
us know
Josh.
Thank you.
what you're up to.
I'll let you get to chickens.
Right, but-
Public hearing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. But we're gonna,
You may leave.
first, we're gonna go back and close the public hearing. So can I get a motion to close the public hearing on sign ordinance?
We'll make
Motion to close.
I'll second.
There's a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Public hearing is now closed. Do we want any more discussion, or would we like to make a recommendation to the city council?
Yes, I'll make a recommendation.
To to approve the proposed updated sign ordinance?
Yes, please.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion and second. Motion by Sherry, second by Billy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, let's get to chickens. Okay, Aaron,
Let's do it.
hear it.
Should have brought fried chicken for dinner.
Aaron doesn't want to hear it again.
No, he's sick of it. Alrighty, thank you. Tonight we are just having our first discussion about the proposed chicken ordinance that was included in the packet. The city council reviewed the information at the July 1st, 2024 work session. They're generally supportive of the idea and the drafted language. They had it was a long conversation. It went from work session into regular meeting, so they, again, had a very robust conversation about chickens. In general, it allows chickens in residential districts, but not roosters, which is an important thing to think about. It sets a maximum of 6 hens. It creates a permitting process, and then it creates coop and run requirements. So again, I'm going to pull up the actual drafted language. Sherry, I also have feedback about a question that you sent me during your review of the packet. So I'll save that until we get to that page, if that works. It's page 3. Oh, no, I lost internet connection. Darn it. It's not your fault. Don't stress about it. This happens really often. I don't know.
It's not
Oh, I have
just
it open.
anti-
Look at me being
anti-chicken.
prepared. Alrighty, so let's start.
Anti-chicken message from you.
Let's start with page 1 and work our way through. If that works for the group, we'll go call out if you have something before. So let's start with section 6-230, purpose and intent.
I have something in the title.
Oh, gosh, okay.
No. Do we have to say it's chickens in residential areas in the title? Because otherwise you don't know until you start reading.
Maybe, I don't know. Would you ever keep a chicken in an
Okay,
industrial
so
area?
as I was reading through this, it's talking about side yard setbacks, front yard, fences, whatever. So this basically means if you live in an attached townhouse dwelling, regardless, that's considered residential,
Correct.
you're not allowed. But nowhere does it say that.
You've got a homeowners association that's gonna tell you whether or not you can do it.
Correct.
Say that again.
So
If
it
you live
says
in
it's
a-
for residential,
Correct,
which a townhouse is considered residential.
Correct.
But they have HOAs
correct.
that will say you can't have it.
Yeah, so at a city level, you could, if you could meet all the requirements for it. HOA guidelines are often more restrictive than us. So there's a lot of times that I call, or someone calls me and say, can I have a shed? And I say, yes. But then ultimately their HOA comes down and says they cannot. We don't keep track of HOA guidelines, we just enforce city rules.
Okay. Because, I mean, if you're in a townhouse, you don't have a side yard, you might not have a backyard.
Correct. And there are a couple provisions that would probably limit your ability to have them, like the requirement to be 20 feet from any other residential structure, so.
Okay.
Page 1, what do we got?
Yeah. So the very first section, I was just.
Sorry, Eric.
Oh, I'm
Eric's
sorry.
next after you, Sherry.
Okay, In the purpose and intent section, going along the lines of, Krista, there's although chickens have not previously been allowed on urban residential lots. Is that really necessary in the ordinance?
No, probably not.
Yeah, it just felt like,
Well, how about, had not previously been allowed on residential lots?
You
No?
could just start with it. It is the purpose and intent of this article.
And that's, yeah, because chickens are allowed in one small area of the city right now, and those are residential lots.
Oh. Well,
Okay,
okay,
let's get that out of there.
It's not becoming necessary
all right,
because it's already permitted.
okay.
Okay, so Billy, you said start,
I would cut although all the way through lots, so just start with it is the purpose and intent of this article to permit.
got it. Yep, I think that works.
Want
Is
to
that
go
your
through the
point, too?
definitions?
Section 1.
Well, no.
Oh, sorry, Eric.
Eric, I gotcha.
This may be a dumb question, but the last article or last section, the existing code is 6:214. This jumps to 6:30. Is there some plan for 2:15 through 2:29, or is it just a number interesting to me?
We reserve some chapters throughout the city code, so I'd say those are reserved for other things that we would want to insert. Definitions?
No.
All right, permit required and application.
What happens if you currently have a chicken that you grandfathered in
Yes,
with no rules or with these rules?
we would still want an annual permitting process to happen. Sherry's question is going to tie into that nicely in a minute, but generally we don't hear about people having chickens right now, so I would say if that continues to be the case, we're not going to go hunting to see who has a chicken coop, but we would ask anyone that does to take a look at this and complete the permitting process each year.
Okay.
So section B,
Yes.
and this is just a general question, like you have to register your dog here?
No,
You used to,
you used to.
Okay,
and your cats.
okay. So you're registering that you have a chicken. So is there like it's renewed every year? Is it a calendar year? Is it, I applied on June 1st, so June 1st I have to renew it?
No, I would say I'm going to track them calendar year.
And then as a nicety, do you send a reminder like, hey, do you still have chickens? Please renew.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Natalie will probably help me with that someday.
Okay.
Oh, Eric?
So I have a question, Mark, I guess reporting to you. So I watched most of the work sessions and the council sessions on this, your discussion. I may have missed this, but, why are we particularly honing in and targeting permitting chickens when all other animals are essentially not permitted? You have the dangerous dog hearing, but there's no permit, no annual requirement, so there's some kind of thought behind why an annual permit is required and why annually for the chickens?
Yeah, I think this is a fairly common practice in neighboring communities that allow chickens. Also, kind of up to us if we wanted to permit dogs and cats. A council long before my time decided to eliminate that.
Okay.
But I think it's just a fairly common thing, and I think when we start out with this, just to kind of figure it out, as you saw in the meetings, we did a lot of conversation about this is not targeted at the families who these chickens are an extension of their family and they're well loved and they all have names. Unfortunately, like with many of our ordinances, we have to kind of keep in mind that there may be folks who want to start their own chicken farm and think that 30 roosters are appropriate to have on a residential lot.
Sure.
And while we don't permit dogs anymore, we do still have laws and rules, ordinances about how many dogs you can have and cats.
I also get a fair number of calls each year of people asking if you can have chickens. And to date, I've had to say you can have them in this one tiny district. So there is community desire to have some type of process that would allow them on residential lots.
Sure, but what does the permit accomplish? You can just say you have 6 chickens, go ahead and go, and that's it. The permit doesn't add anything really, besides the $10 fee and
Correct.
Said earlier.
It also allows us to, like, if someone has a rooster, we can go through a process to we can say, we have an ordinance, you cannot have roosters within city limits. You need
The
to,
ordinance to say no roosters.
correct.
The permit still doesn't add any value.
I think too, like for, not that we have chickens around us, but if we did, they might wander. And it's like, I don't worry if they're in our backyard, but I know some of our neighbors don't like it. And I imagine the first place they'd call would be the city, because you don't know, like chickens know to go home, which is why I don't care. But if you don't know where their home is and you have 5 chickens in your backyard, you're like, how do I get rid of the chickens? So having a permit makes it so you know where the chickens are from.
It also allows us to do a check and balance to make sure that, like, in the ordinance, it was taken out, but I'm going to advocate that it gets added back in, that each chicken gets 3 square feet. So it helps maintain that the chickens are well cared for.
Yeah, and to monitor the structures to make sure
Right.
they're in good repair, they aren't, and they're clean. I mean, once a year, somebody's gonna go out and look at your chicken coop.
Want to come take a look at your cats and dogs or your horses.
Horses aren't allowed.
No,
But if you got, there's no bag.
cats and dogs can stay in your house. This is out in your yard.
Yeah, the whole point is just, there's a lot of unnecessary regulation here that we're adding in.
What if you have a complaint? One of your neighbors has a complaint. Do they call the city?
Yes.
Would that be considered when renewing the permit?
Yes.
Does it say that in here? I didn't
I
see.
think it does. It talks about like the condition. I think it talks about chickens being a nuisance. Adverse permit decisions. So may be denied or revoked by a city official if the permit holder has violated any part of this article.
But there isn't any specific thing that says your chickens shouldn't annoy your neighbors.
That's true, and that is
Well,
all
there's a nuisance
subjective.
ordinance in
Yeah.
our Ordinances, so, I mean, that would be a nuisance.
It also, there's some information about keeping their coops and runs sanitary, which I think would be a big concern for people too. And like Courtney said, I may be incorrect, but I don't think I will be. I don't think people are going to get chickens that are going to be willy-nilly chicken owners. So I'm hopeful that people who are moving forward with this permitting process will understand what it takes to keep chickens. That's maybe me being optimistic, but we'll see how it goes.
No matter what you project, somebody will do something different.
Every day,
But
yes,
that's life.
that is true.
That's life, okay?
But you need rules and regulations around it so you can enforce it.
Correct.
That's the purpose of the ordinance.
Right.
We had a neighbor that had a coop, that had a rooster,
Mm.
and that rooster did not stop. So it was one of the first things I looked for to see what the rules were, and there were none.
Yeah.
That house sold, the new owner tore it down, we're all thankful. But that is exactly, I think, what we're trying to, is just set up some type
Mitigate,
of.
in case, so it doesn't happen all over town.
I'll also
And
say,
it wasn't clean. It did smell. And if you wanted to enjoy the backyard, it was hard to do that. So, we lived with it. We were grateful when they moved.
we also know of several residents that have chickens. We don't get complaints that chickens are roaming free or that they're an issue. But this allows us to continue to permit them through a process.
How did we land on 6 chickens? Is it, I understand we don't want chicken farms.
It's half a dozen.
I know we don't want chicken farms, but 6 feels, I don't own chickens, but it feels like such a small amount for chickens.
I would say we did not invent the wheel here. 6, I
Okay.
would say, is the national average of number of chickens that are permitted in residential areas.
Got it.
What's the value on it? 6? Why you didn't specify a number?
I don't think you want
What's
your,
the benefit of defining a number?
do you want your neighbor to have 30 chickens?
No, but I know it's supposed to have chickens, and usually anything more, they start pecking each other, so it's gonna be self-eliminating problem.
So it's up to 6. You can choose if you want to have 2 or 3.
Sure, but I'm not even say a number.
My sister has chickens on a farm, and they have 45 chickens. So it for sure, they can live
Is there
peacefully.
space enough?
Yeah.
Space
Yeah.
not enough, or not allowed to interact?
Well,
Eric, are
six-
you fundamentally against this ordinance for some reason?
No, I'm not against it, I just feel like we're over legislating a bit, we can pull back and parse this down a little bit, make it a little bit more, flexible, and not so stringent. But I have no problem with it.
I think 6 is a fine number. I mean, I think we have to specify a top limit.
Yeah, I think we have to specify a top limit. I just was wondering how we got to 6.
Because
In
probably
our
other
neighborhood,
ordinances-
6 feels wonderful.
If it helps, just for the color commentary from the
Yeah.
council meeting, we started at 5, was in the draft that we received from the city attorney. We thought that seemed low, now we're at 6.
Got it.
Very scientific, you know,
Yeah.
but same thing, like, again, 30
Yes.
roosters
So
next
I
door.
did do a little studying on chickens.
Of course you
No,
did.
just because I don't know anything about chickens. I grew up in the city. So, the average space for a chicken is 3 to 4 square feet
Yeah.
for them to live comfortably. And so then I thought to myself, okay, so if you have 6, that's 24 square feet, right? Which is that's a 10 by 4 structure, or 6 by whatever, 6 by 5, 6 by 4.
6 by 4.
You know, and so then I got to thinking, like, okay, so that's the size of a little gymnasium or a little jungle gym in the backyard. How much bigger of a structure would you want as a chicken coop in the backyard to look at? So I did the reverse logic of how big visually would I want to see a chicken coop. And I think the limitation was 30, I don't remember, 30 square feet, which is a 6 by 5. That gives you plenty of room and comfortable space for
Chicken living.
6 chickens.
Yeah, I like that
However,
logic.
this
All right,
is-
I'm on board with 6.
This is 2 square feet per chicken.
That's a minimum.
What did you say, 3 to 4?
What
Yeah,
page are
it-
you on, Jim?
3 to 4,
Probably about the coop size.
This says all chicken coops must have a minimum of 2 square feet per
yeah,
chicken.
right, minimum. But no more than 30 square feet for the structure. So 12 to 30 feet, square feet.
But you said you looked it up and it said 3 to 4 square feet.
To be
That's the
comfortable.
ideal chicken life.
All right?
So you don't want the chickens to be comfortable.
Okay.
I'm just here
All right,
for the
Jim.
chicken commentary, honestly.
All right.
So when you say 30 square feet, we're talking overall coop size?
The coop.
Then you gotta define cubic feet.
Oh,
Is it-
good call.
You gotta
Thank
define
you.
cubic feet then.
Is it, I think we're talking footprint. Are we talking footprint?
Yes.
Square foot.
Yes.
Square foot.
Are we gonna limit how high it goes?
Yeah.
Can you
there's a
use the
limit
mic
for
too,
how high it can go.
Okay, no thanks.
I think it says,
I think it was 6 feet, wasn't it?
I have questions back on 233A.
Yeah, can we just start?
yeah, let's
Yeah.
stick to the.
To the path.
So we get through all of it.
Yeah.
Krista, tell me where you want to go.
So 233A, what was the council's decision on that? Because it's kind of repetitive, so they must be secured inside. So the first sentence to me can go away because it also says during daylight hours, which is sunrise to sunset. So you don't need that first sentence. But is it they can be in an enclosure and a run and a fenced yard? Or can they just be free running chickens in the backyard if they have a fence?
So at night, they need to be in the coop.
Correct. So they need a coop.
Correct.
They don't necessarily need a run.
Correct.
Because- But if they're supervised,
Mm-hmm.
so someone's watching the chickens, then they can be in an enclosed backyard.
Correct.
Okay, so nothing changed on that one from
No.
that? Okay. Could we just strike that first sentence?
Sure.
So I had one question with, or consideration is we say a fully fenced in yard, do we have to articulate what kind of fence?
I think our
So-
city code already articulates what type of fence you have.
Or are you
around your
thinking
yard,
like
right?
chain link versus
link
vinyl
versus
privacy?
a slat versus
Something that will contain the chickens.
Yeah, I don't think it's for
Enclosed.
visual. I don't think it's to not see the chickens. I think it's so the chickens stay in your yard.
Yeah.
So I'd say any fence is okay.
Does it have to be a certain height?
Do chickens fly?
Yes, chickens
Yes.
fly.
Yes, they do.
So
So typical fence height, I would say, is between 4 and 6 feet. Most people go 6 in a rear yard.
But I can get a landscape fence that's 2 feet.
That's true.
That's why I'm saying, do we need to articulate?
Well, it says
Fence.
enclosed. Like that, does that term help?
I also think that a fence is defined in our ordinance of being 4 feet.
Okay. Okay. If it is, that's fine.
It says supervised.
All right, anything else in 233?
So B,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get very far. It says are for personal use, so does that prohibit the sale of eggs?
I had that same question.
I think you can't sell eggs unless you're, like, you can't legally sell food from your house unless you have,
A cottage license?
Yes.
Cottage license. maybe.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it might be in here too.
And then
Do you have strong feelings one way or the other?
I'm just asking the question.
Okay. It might not be, actually.
I don't think I saw it, which is why
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
But isn't that like a law? Like you can't sell food from your house without a license? Isn't that like a,
There are cottage laws through the state. I don't know if that would include eggs.
oh, got it.
I saw a little kid lemonade stand that I bought from the other day.
I mean, I buy from all of them, let's be.
But this is just discussion, so we can absolutely come back with more information. $233, what's next?
I have F.
Okay,
So the part about permanently being kept inside makes sense to me, but it can't be, so your coop can't be attached somehow to the garage or a structure that you're keeping the, I don't know, chicken food in, whatever they eat. So it has to be an unattached, detached structure.
the chicken coop, yes.
Yes, okay.
So this is just a comment on E. When I was reading this, it says that it has to comply with all applicable building codes. So then, I wasn't sure if we should be referencing what building codes there are. I guess I didn't realize the complexities around a building code for a coop.
Okay, are you specifically thinking of setbacks?
Yeah.
yeah.
So the state building code, it changes, so we don't specifically say, like the 2021 Minnesota building code, just because we'd have to go through our ordinance several places. One of our first ordinances in the city code adopts the building code, so
Okay.
it's inherently throughout the rest of our ordinances as adopted. Oh, Kim.
You-
Okay, wait, will you
Wait,
come and
do you have any
introduce
questions or
yourself really
comments?
fast? Wait, come up here.
You gotta use the microphone too. We've got tens and tens of people watching this tonight.
Will you turn it on?
Hi.
Thank you.
My name is Kim Bunn. I'm with Hometown Bank, being the new location here in Carver.
Oh, you're looking for a chicken coop?
I don't think we finance them, but we
okay.
do finance everything else. We're getting super close. I'm sure you guys have seen the outside of the building is almost 100% done. The inside we walked through on Tuesday. It was amazing. It was great. Obviously, we're working off of a laptop and a small desk in the Waconia branch right now, so we are very excited to have our own branch. Partnering with the school as much as we can, Cologne Academy as well, trying to get in front of all the businesses that we can, introduce ourselves, obviously not being salesy or pushy, but just doing the Carver thing, and that's being in the community, right? That's what we're gonna do. End of August is our expected date. We do have a date, but it's not official yet, so I certainly don't want to throw that out there in case it does change, but that last week of August is our goal to open. We'll be doing a 100-year anniversary, November 2nd. That'll be a big event. Obviously share with you guys when more details come on that. But certainly if there's any questions that you guys have, please reach out to us. But yeah, we wanted to be here to find out who our neighbors are gonna be, of course, and obviously just want to get as much information as we can about anything Carver. So
And I think
that's
you're
on
looking
there.
for employees, correct?
We are still looking for a few
So if
employees.
anyone knows
yeah.
someone.
Yeah, we're looking for tellers, a loan processor. Just kind of trying to fill in the last little pieces before we get going.
I didn't catch your last name.
Bun, B-U-N.
I'll also share that Hometown has really jumped in to the Carver community. It's been really lovely. You're always trying to find ways to get involved, so it's been
Yeah.
really great having you here.
Yeah, well, you guys have been more than welcoming and helping out us as well, instead of, pushing back or, asking for things in response. I mean, you guys have literally been a gem to work with.
Thanks.
So we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I
Okay,
didn't want to
you
interrupt
can
your
leave
chit-chat.
now.
Hey, I thought you were here about chicken.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, well.
She's jealous. She just wants to sit here and talk chicken.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thanks for that interruption. Kim has just been super active already, so I wanted more people to know her name.
Right, thank you.
Okay, 233. We're on, yeah, go
Eric?
ahead.
Yeah, this is just a clerical thing, with sub-bullet I,
Mm-hmm.
talking about all the extra variants or species of birds that are allowed. Looking through 6.6, B3, or just the B paragraph there in the prohibited animal section. Let me know if I'm reading this incorrectly, but it sounds like the term, I lost it.
Animal equivalent
The
unit.
term bird is used is basically allowed, so we may have to do a little scrubbing if we're gonna,
What,
He's in a different section of the code, I think.
yeah, 6.6 for the parent code. But it's just a clerical thing, we have to go kind of tighten up if we're gonna go with I as written.
Alrighty. 634, or 234? 6-234.
Was there consensus on the minimum and maximum size of the coop?
So that was Sherry's question and what I wanted to talk about. So we, at a staff level, we took out the maximum, frankly, because we don't, if someone wants to have their whole backyard be a chicken coop and it meets all the other requirements, being 20 feet away from other residential structures, meets the setbacks. We didn't want to have to go out there with a tape measure and say, it's too big, you have to go smaller. So we took out the 3 square feet, but I would advocate that we put that back in this section. It was F, I think.
well, we're sure not
G.
gonna let them be bigger than a shed, which is 120 square feet, right?
200 square feet.
It is?
It got bumped up with the building code.
Oh,
Yeah, that was weird to me too, because I thought the same thing.
Well,
all for,
so it's 200 square feet on a zoning permit. A shed can be up to 800 square feet.
wow.
In the backyard? Wow.
If it meets
Don't
the
tell my
setbacks.
husband.
Him.
Yeah, don't tell him.
My only
Thankfully, we
ques-
don't have a backyard.
My only question on the minimum is the number of chickens can change. You can start out with
Sure.
1 chicken and your coop's fine, and then you get 5 more chickens and now you're up to 6. And now your minimum changed. So
We'll
do you
catch it
divide
each year when we do the permit renewal.
So that's why I was questioning the minimum.
Well, and don't we want it, to Sherry's earlier point, if chickens need 3 to 4 feet to be healthy chickens, and they decide to get more chickens, don't we want them to adjust the size so that the chickens are living a good chicken life? I mean, I feel like that's like a fair requirement. I don't know.
I'm not sure that someone would call me if they start with 3 and they bump up to 6. I don't think someone inherently would call the city and say, hey, I'm going up to 6 chickens, I'm increasing the size of my coop. So I would say it's just gonna happen annually with the permit renewal. That will catch some of that information. And it might fluctuate. You might lose a chicken and gain a chicken later, and
This is my favorite conversation we've had so far.
I would like to see a maximum.
okay.
Yeah.
A
A
maximum
maximum
square foot?
Coop size?
Yeah, like you can't exceed,
I agree.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want like a chicken coop obstacle course. Good, but you can only have 1 of each, but whatever.
But I have a question about that. So like right now our borders are pretty tight and the houses are pretty tight, but I feel like once we expand, this will cover our expansion, right? And so like the houses that are further out with more space, they'll be bound by this once our borders change, right?
Correct.
So like for those houses, I guess they're only gonna have 6 chickens, so never mind. My point is mute. I'm fine with it.
I'll also say that Carver doesn't have large lot projects, so our requirement is 3 units per acre, so we won't have farm properties that would have large acreage.
Right, for the new builds, but the houses that are out there will be grandfathered into that. But if they wanna add a chicken coop to a property that already exists, then they're bound by this, right?
Correct, yep,
So even if they have a lot of land, they would still be bound by this, wouldn't they?
yes.
Okay.
My lot's an acre.
Mm-hmm.
So why should I be restricted by
That's
some
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
houses in my neighborhood that are smaller?
But you would be restricted, like, you would only be able to have 6 chickens, I guess, so
Yeah,
then 18 square feet is in theory.
but if I wanted my chickens to have 6 square feet instead of
Yeah.
3 or 4,
Oh, I don't care about, I was just wondering, yeah.
I mean, we have restrictions on the size based on lots and setbacks and so on. That should be sufficient.
But we also have restrictions on the size of sheds. I mean, there should be an upper level of, you know, where you say, okay, it can only be up to this big. I mean, maybe it's bigger than what we're talking about here, but I don't think it's unreasonable to have an upper level.
Why?
Because maybe your neighbors don't want to look at your 600 square foot chicken coop.
Like I said, my lot's an acre,
Mm-hmm.
so my neighbors.
You still have neighbors.
Yeah, but they're further away and I have room for it. I mean, that's what the setbacks
Mm-hmm.
keep it away from your neighbor.
Right.
It shouldn't be just on size, it should be based on the setbacks.
Was there any, I don't think there was any consideration, I remember in the conversation, like the downtown district, limited space, just house to house, because of the lot size.
Right.
But I don't remember any conversation about the larger lots, so is there, maybe is there consideration that we put in here if the lot size is greater than X, they can do this?
Even if your
I,
lot size is really big, how much of that is usable? Like, are you
Well,
backed up
that's
to
a fair
a
statement.
bluff?
my preference would be that we start with one code. We see how it goes. If someone comes in and says, this isn't working for me for XYZ, we can always amend it. But I would be
Or give them
apprehensive.
variance.
Variance.
Yeah, I'd be apprehensive to have different codes for different
Okay.
places in town.
Okay.
Frankly, I've said this before, adopting this ordinance, I don't think is going to have 20 people lined up at City Hall applying for a chicken permit. A lot of this is, the work we're trying to do is to grandfather people in who already have chickens and set some rules around the existing chicken coops. And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe this will be my all day, every day chicken approval.
I know you're hoping for that.
Yeah,
Carver will be the chicken capital of Minnesota.
you never know.
For F, was it removed, like the clear open space and not to exceed a certain height?
It was actually G, where this one period is. There was a sentence here before. So the minimum was 3 square feet per chicken, maximum of 50 square feet.
Okay, so the chicken coop size itself, it still has to have the open space with at least 9 inches
Correct.
between the ground and the flooring and not exceed 6 feet in total height.
Yes.
That's still okay.
Yes. So it was the runs. That was the big part.
So I'm gonna go back to A in 234. Do we have to have any consideration for the historic district, or how is that handled?
Older chickens.
Older chickens? So,
Yeah, it would be an exterior project.
yeah, so how does that fit into the historic district?
Well, let's kind of think about it this way. The historic district probably had a bunch of chicken coops at one time.
Yeah, I'm just,
So,
it has to be consistent with building and zoning codes, so does that mean that they, because it's zoned historic district, they'd have to go through the,
HPC,
yeah,
probably.
I'm going to say yes, because they go down to things like windows
yeah.
and fences and So I would say, yeah, it's an
Yeah,
exterior
any
project.
exterior alteration to the property.
You don't want a Frank Lloyd Wright chicken coop in the historic downtown.
So does that have to be called out?
Yeah, we can. Brent is gonna have fun with that one. No, this is,
You guys hit on the historic district in your conversation, but I didn't hear like the tie to the what'd you call it?
and it's,
HCC.
and it's maybe something as simple as a chicken coop in the historic district needs to have materials similar to the house.
Yeah.
Or from the time frame that the, which is simply chicken wired 2x4s.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
Historic chicken coops.
yeah.
In B,
Mm-hmm.
it's not to be constructed on any lot prior to the time of construction. Would we rather want to put certificate of occupancy
Yeah, we could do that.
rather than they dug a hole and now they can have a chicken coop and there's nobody there?
It'd be unsupervised then.
They would be, sorry. There's no fence, so they can't run around. And then my only other comment, I don't have a recommendation, is C. It seems so wordy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It just feels like it could, there's just a lot in there, just take it out. Make it simple.
Okay.
Take out the except that and start a new sentence at a chicken coop. When you have
Here.
two. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Anything else in 2, 3, 4? I'm gonna go back to G. We've had a conversation about maximums. How do we feel about it?
So this is the run.
Correct.
Yeah, so the coop we talked about
30.
30. Well, this is the run, and this was my question that I had shot off to Aaron, because in the city council conversation, it sounded like they landed on 50.
Correct.
So I would have expected to see that edit in here and it got missed. So 40 or 50, I think is fine. They can either have, like you said, a run, or they can be in the fenced backyard.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Okay.
So are we agreeing with
The
50?
runs don't have a height.
50 might be that's a maximum.
Max?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that seems fine.
I would advocate, if we want to include a height, to do the same as the coop at 6 feet. Does that work?
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
From my experience,
Which
you're gonna have, you're gonna need
New
steel
York.
bars to keep the raccoons up.
Mm-hmm. Do you have experience with chickens?
With raccoons,
Raccoons and what? Oh, you mean for like any in trash cans?
my bird feeders on my
Oh.
Oh,
deck,
I see.
Yeah.
my raccoons are about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
They're well fed.
They're mean animals too.
235?
Sorry, can't go there yet. I.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saying only one chicken coop and one run per lot. Do we have to call out or mention the fence area too? I'm just asking. Because we said a coop and a run,
Uh-huh.
but we're also requiring a fence.
If the chickens are going to be in the coop and the run, you don't have to have a fence. If you want to allow your chickens in your yard, you have to have a fence
And supervise them.
and supervise them.
1 adult to 6 chickens.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. 235?
Anyone?
No.
Keep going.
236?
What is TR district?
Traditional residential.
Do we have any of those?
It's the historic downtown.
Okay.
All right, we'll take this feedback. You have 2 members of the council here tonight. So they will take this feedback we'll bring back another version, potentially at our August meeting.
Okay.
Are there any lawyers that specialize in chickens?
That came up during the council meeting.
I'd say after this conversation, ours might.
All right, we have, this is your last chance if you want to make any more comments about the chicken ordinance or additions, deletions. All right, let's move along. Thanks for that. Communications. Sherry, anything?
No, thank you.
Jim?
Nope.
Krista? Nope. Billy?
Nope.
Reed?
It's for,
Nope.
No.
Oh. Lincoln?
Good.
Eric? Mayor Courtney. First of all, I'd like to just welcome you, and I'm glad you came, and it's so nice to see you.
Well, thank you.
Once a year.
You know, now probably wouldn't be the time to say that I've probably gone to 3 HPC meetings this year. They did a lot of levy stuff that I was really interested in, so.
Okay.
It's not that I love them any more than I love each and every single
right.
one of you all. But thank you. As you know, I try to make it to at least one planning commission and one HPC meeting every year, and here I am. Just wanted to let you guys know I appreciate how much work you do, the time that you're spending away from your families, the prep work that you're doing to read the packets, and all of the chicken talk. And really, the chicken puns, because that was fun. I see why you enjoy this group so much. So, thank you. Appreciate all your hard work, and eat some snacks.
Yeah, thank you for the snacks. We have snacks up here.
can I do one?
30 seconds.
I have sent you some information about the Les Schwab project. The council reviewed it, had some unfavorable feedback about the design of the building. So what they presented to us was a tip-up concrete building, which is not permitted in our city code. So I've been going back and forth with their team, trying to come to resolution about the building materials. So they haven't made a formal application yet that meets our city code, so we haven't moved through that process. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going to happen at this point, but just wanted to give you an update that we are working with their team right now.
You know, I don't really understand their plan. If I was gonna build a building like that where I want to attract business from the highway, I would have my best side out by the highway. And they seem to have exactly the opposite.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just like to take a moment. I think all of us would like to thank city staff for taking care of us during the flood.
Oh, yes.
And more so than that, I would like to thank the residents that were here in the 60s who built that levee.
I will chime in and say that my one responsibility during the flood was to buy snacks. So I was at Fleet Farm buying snacks.
All right. Anything else? If not, could I please get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Eat snacks. Yep, here.